hot take, would you do van life again?
No.
No? There you go. Okay, so this is a little different than our usual content, but we wanted to sit down because we've gotten a lot of questions about the van, on the van tour, just life in general, and yeah, our move to Hawaii. As you can see, we are not in our van. We are actually in the backyard of our new rental here on the island. We've been here for about, what?
2 months.
2 months. That's crazy to think. If you haven't seen our last video that we put out this last weekend, it talks all about our move, selling the van, and why we came here and kind of what's next. But yeah, we just wanted to do a little FAQ, if you will, to address a bunch of questions, not leave you guys hanging in the comments. So anything you'd like to?
Let's let her rip, man.
Let her rip.
Let's start at the beginning. Number one, how much did the van cost?
So I financed the van. I got it from a dealership. The van itself was about $45,000, and that was with a warranty on it. And then I put about, I wish I had kept better records of all the receipts, but I would estimate it somewhere around $25,000 to $30,000 in just parts, and a big chunk of that is going to be the electrical system. I think there was $10,000 worth of, batteries and electrical components. And then the rest of it was like really high quality wood. I used Baltic birch instead of doing like OSB, paint, tiles, all the things. So yeah, I would say all in probably somewhere between $70,000 to $80,000 for the build.
And how long did that take you?
So it took me about 6 months. I wasn't working at the time. I had quit my job to build the van out full-time. It was basically my full-time job. And that was 14-hour days every day. I didn't really take any time off other than the 10 days I actually flew out to visit Nick during the build while I was wrapping it up. And yeah, it took a while. So yeah, if you're building it full-time, you could probably do it a lot quicker than I did. I had no idea what I was doing in the beginning, and half of it was just figuring out how to use the tools. And oh, yeah. I don't know why I did that. That was dumb. Yeah, pretty much that. Just a lot of trial and error. But
how did you choose between building it yourself versus buying it? And especially for a lot of the people out there that are like scared because they don't have the experience. They've never built anything before, or they don't know how to use power tools, they don't know electricity, or they don't know plumbing.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of benefits to building versus buying, and if I went back again, I would totally build another van. I know that's easy to say once you've already done it once. You're like, oh, I kind of already know how to do it. But you can learn anything on the internet. I spent hours and hours on YouTube, Google searches, just so much research. I put blood, sweat, and tears into this vehicle, and it was so cool to watch my vision come to life. And honestly, that is like one of my favorite parts about that chapter of my life, about van life, was building the van. It was 6 months of just pouring into my dream. And even when I got on the road, the cool thing about building versus buying is you know every little inch of your space. You can customize it exactly how you want versus like adapting an already built van to what you need. And you know how to fix things. So I knew if anything went wrong with my electrical system, what needed to be changed. I knew if we had a plumbing leak, like where it would be in the wall. So yeah, I think there's a lot of benefits to building versus buying. And if someone were to ask me which route to go, I would definitely say if you have the time, building would be the way to go. I enjoyed it. I mean, if you asked me in the middle of it, I might not have said like, oh yeah, this is the funnest thing in my life. It was hard. It was really hard, but so rewarding, and you just learn so much in the process. And anyone can do it. If I can do it, anyone can do it. I'll say that.
What build resources would you recommend for someone that's a beginner? Where'd you start? How the heck did you figure out what to do?
There are so many great resources on the internet. YouTube is a fantastic one. And it was kind of like a falling down the Google rabbit hole too. Like I would start one project and that would lead to a question of like, how do I install this outlet? And that would lead to, okay, how do I daisy chain outlets? And it's just, you go down this Google rabbit hole and you start teaching yourself and learning. But the biggest help was YouTube channels that had done it before. I watched so many build videos. I would get done with my day building, and then I would go to my room and I would binge another 3 or 4 hours of watching other people build that specific part of their van. I think one of the best channels for electrical specifically, because that was so intimidating as someone who had never done anything with electrical, is Explorist Life. If you guys are building out your own van and you have not seen his channel yet, he has so many great resources, and he has a website. I'll put his link down below. I ordered a lot of my electrical components specifically from him, and he does like 2-hour long builds of him putting together these pristine electrical cabinets. So yeah, he is a great resource. And there's a lot of blogs, people who have built their own vans and put resources out on the internet that you can either purchase, and they're totally worth the $2 or $3 for an ebook. YouTube, any question you have before you even go to Google, you'll probably find a video on how to build it. Someone's dealt with it before.
I agree. YouTube University for the win for almost anything.
Yeah.
How did you know at the beginning that you wanted to pick a transit van?
So I did a ton of research. There's benefits and negatives to each one of the vans. The ProMaster is probably the most budget friendly, but you're not going to get the height or length that you would in a Transit or a Sprinter. The Sprinters are beautiful, but they are very expensive. You don't get as high of a roof, but you can get a longer wheelbase and like a longer interior for your build. So the Transit is like that perfect middle ground, best of both worlds, budget friendly, great size. And I think another big benefit of going with a Transit is it's a Ford, and there's Ford dealerships all over the place. The parts are easier to find. You can find mechanics that will work on it easier. Yeah, that was a huge thing. Because with the Sprinters, you have to have very specific parts, and very specific dealerships work on it.
In generalizing it, I would say, yeah, the Ford is so much easier to work on than the Mercedes. It's so much cheaper.
Yeah.
How did you start to build your first floor plan?
Before I even quit my job, I would sit in my office and I would watch van tour videos just nonstop, and I just started compiling all these ideas and what I did want and what I didn't want.
Did you have one of those 3D van builders that you used?
I did,
The 3D one?
what was it, Van Space. And I've recommended that to so many people. It's an older software at this point. I don't know if they've come out with a new version, but it worked great for me. It's like they have all the specific models in Van Space. You can pick one of the models and it will perfectly 3D render it. They have like pre-built furniture you can kind of drop in. You can do a lot of your own custom stuff, and it takes a minute to get to learn the software, but after that, I had like 20 iterations of my floor plan. But yeah, I think the most important thing is get a software that you can do it on. Van Space is great. Have your list of non-negotiables. I wanted a shower, I wanted a convertible bed, and I knew I wanted to have as much counter space as possible, and an office, which is a lot to fit in 70 square feet. So I had to move things around a lot, and yeah, you just kind of play. And honestly, the floor plan that ended up being built was completely different than my final floor plan before I started the build. I tweaked it even in the build stage after finishing it. It just kind of takes its own life in its own direction.
I feel like everyone goes through a lot of the same stages. When I had the bus before the van, it started with paper, then it went 3D, then it went super 3D. Inside my house, I actually taped out the layout, and I started to move my furniture around so I could actually like physically envision myself in it. If you were doing it again, what would you do differently?
The only thing that I think I would change if I did it again, I love the layout, I really do. I don't know if I would put so much energy and effort into having a shower.
Yeah.
We used it twice. It kind of became a gear storage place for snowboards and wet
Which
swimsuits.
was nice, though.
It was nice,
to
yeah.
have like a wet storage locker built into the van.
Maybe I would do it again, but I wouldn't put so much emphasis on it. I think I built my floor plan around my shower because I was like, I definitely need a shower. I was one of those people that was like, I'm gonna shower every day in my van, and God, that goes out of the window so fast. Okay, the next section of question, by far the most asked question we got about the lifestyle in general was how the heck we afforded to do it. Do we work?
Is that your car on the lot?
Yeah.
It's a Jag?
Yeah.
You make a lot of money?
Do we have some sort of like trust fund that seems
That's
to
the
come
number
up?
one question, period, about van life is how are you affording to do this?
No, if I had a trust fund, I wouldn't be traveling in a van. You know what I mean?
Fun coupons!
But
That's my number one thing. People ask me that in the bus too, and I was like, man, if I had $1 million in the bank, I'd be traveling in more style than a beat up $4,000 bus I got at a church auction.
Oh, I would have a earth roamer. I'd be.
Yeah.
But anyway, just to squash that, no, there are no trust funds here. This isn't mom and dad's money. I think that a big misconception is that a lot of people don't work while they're on the road. Most people that we know were doing some form of work. There's a ton of different avenues. There's a lot of remote positions. Nick, for example, he does a normal 9-to-5 tech job.
Yeah, I
Slinging software.
Yeah, all the time that I've been living on wheels, whether in the bus or in the van, and even when I moved to Hawaii for the year in between, getting back in the van. I was remote before COVID. It's been like 6 or 7 years now, and I've just worked a job where the company lets me have an East Coast territory as a sales rep. And so wherever the heck we happen to be, I just keep working those hours. So when you're on the East Coast, you work 9 to 5. When you're on the West Coast, you're working 6 a.m. to like 2:30ish. And it was great because we preferred being further west because that's what we wanted to see. And so it just meant you got up earlier, you got off work earlier, and then we had the rest of the day to explore. But it's not like a vacation as much as it may seem. Like Monday through Friday, 6 to 2:30. I'm working.
I'm a little bit of a different story. I spent the 3 years prior to leaving in the van saving every penny I could at my corporate job. I used to do new home sales in Austin. So I saved up for 3 years and gave myself a nice cushion before I left. And then I'd pick up like freelance jobs. I did some freelance video stuff, worked with a couple brands while we traveled. Mostly stuff around like camera and video stuff because that's what I have experience in. But yeah, you can get really scrappy with it. Whether you're doing it full time and have like a structure, you're freelance. With the internet, you can monetize a lot of skills these days. There's a lot of other options too though. There's seasonal work. We had friends that would work like the snowboard season in Breckenridge and, you know, live at the base of the mountain in their van and be able to afford to be there, get free ski passes, save up from that, and then go travel during the summer in other places and do it all over again. So let's go back.
The goods.
The goods. What everybody wants to know.
How much money did we spend?
A lot. Just kidding. It wasn't that bad. Oh, you put your butt down. What did our monthly expenses look like? So I would break this into a few categories. You've got your expenses you would have even if you were in a normal living situation, your cell phone bill, insurance, things of that sort. But if we're talking specifically just van life related expenses, and I had a van payment, and that was around $900 because I did finance the van. How much do you think we spent on gas every month?
On the low months, we could get away with a couple $100, you know, if we were posting up for a couple weeks at a time. I mean, I think our worst month, we spent like $2,000 in fuel, but we were like northern Montana all the way down to Southern California in a matter of like a month. It depends on how slow you go. It depends on how long you stay at a certain place. The way I look at it, like the van related ones, I find maybe they save you a little bit of money, but they usually just replace what you were doing in real life. So like, you know, with you financing the van, that would just be the place of your car payment.
Rent.
And right. But I think the reality is people find out very quickly that like repairs on the road, the fuel you put in, that essentially just replaces your rent. For me, it was just a perception shift. So instead of like saving money, it was like, I'm going to spend the same amount of money, except for now I'm not stuck to my house. Right. I'm not stuck in one spot. Now I get to go travel.
I mean, it is what you make of it, right?
Yeah.
You could stick to a very strict budget. We knew people that did. When I was in Austin, fun was expensive. We were going out to bars, we were going to like festivals and live music, and so fun becomes somewhat free.
Go buy yourself a national park pass.
Yes, and
spend
that was
$100 or whatever it is, and like that is unlimited fun then.
Yeah, your fun is camping, meeting new people. Like we said, it's not a vacation all the time, but you get to see more in 6 months on the road than you probably get to see in your yearly vacations for 5 to 10 years working and staying in a normal place. So when you take into consideration like the cost of travel to go see all these places on top of it, I do think that is a major cost saver.
Next question.
Next question.
All right. The actual living. Where do you poop? How do you shower? What do you cook? How do you get internet? How do you get electricity?
Everyone wants to know how you poop in a van. That seems to be like the number one asked question. And just throwing this out there, there really is no good solution. It is what it is.
There's a lot of options.
There's a lot of options. None of them are perfect.
Not even close.
Let's just rattle them off. Pros and cons of each. Compost toilet.
I mean, it's just pooping into a bucket full of dirt. It's cheap.
Yes.
I'm not 100% sold on the science of like if everything composts within a month before you're getting rid of it.
I think it does.
Then you got the Laveo.
Laveo, yeah, that's what we had. It's basically a diaper genie. Great that you don't have to like change it. Great that you don't have to look at your own feces every time you want to go to the bathroom, like a compost toilet. But it is expensive. About $1.50 a flush, we calculated. Yeah, that's definitely
Incinerating toilet.
If money was no issue, I do feel like that's probably the best solution is an incinerating toilet.
I don't know many people that are spending $3,000-$5,000
so
on a toilet, but it just turns it into ash and you can dump it wherever.
Yeah, it just makes disposal easy. It doesn't smell.
Black tank. I mean, let's just put the Robin Williams video here from RV. Turn it off! I say no.
Burn into my memory.
Yeah, no. Otherwise you can use what we did most of the time is you just use public places. Your Planet Fitness, gas stations, coffee shops. Let's be honest, a good $5 shovel.
Oh, great investment.
Nature poops.
It's like a rite of passage, your first nature poop.
Just did some damage.
I think we properly answered that.
All right, showering. Indoor shower, outdoor shower, and Planet Fitness. There's Planet Fitnesses everywhere. That was the number one. Long showers, hot showers. There's a Planet Fitness in most places that you'll go.
Okay, preface this with I built out the van thinking it was going to be me and Marley living in it. So a 5'9" solo female traveling, and picked up a 6'4" man. Nick did not fit in our shower.
Yeah.
Nick did not fit in our shower.
I think I took 2 or 3 showers in it for over 2 years.
Yes, and God forbid he dropped the soap. He could not turn around. He could not bend down. I had to soap his back in the shower. It was a thing. Even I didn't use the indoor shower very often though, because you just use a lot of water to do it. And with Planet Fitness is so readily available and it's only $15 a month, it just makes sense. On to the next one. How do you cook in a van? We had a stove oven combo. It was propane, super easy. It is a smaller oven, so you gotta adapt the way you're cooking, and it doesn't burn as evenly because it's propane.
That was the one downside.
Yeah.
I mean, half the time we put stuff in the oven and like kind of guessing on time. But I think people have a perception that when you live in a van, you're cooking like, oh, what are your tiny life meals that you're making?
Yeah, like you're over the campfire, you're making roasted weenies. Like, no, we had normal meals.
But I mean, we were cooking full on tacos, steak, like we have a whole episode on Thanksgiving, just like making sides galore. Like whatever we wanted to cook, we had the ability to cook it.
Yeah. How do we get internet? We had Starlink. It was great. I actually had the first gen Starlink before they were doing like the mini or mobile. Cut the back off of it and actually mounted it to the top of the van so we weren't breaking it down and putting it back up. It was awesome. Super fast speeds, but there's positives and negatives to Starlink for sure.
It is a little bit pricey, and
it's $150 a month. Yeah.
And you can't use it in a forest because it needs clear view of the sky. But other than that, man, we were on beaches where it popped up as SOS on our phone, and I was on Xbox Live. As someone who was on Zoom calls every day and needed to show my face for my 9 to 5, like, you know, had perfect internet as if I was at home. I'd say the only other time we had issues is like we did snowboard season when it was heavy snow, or just like heavy storms in general. It's kind of like, you know, it's a satellite. It cut out a little bit.
Total game changer for van life in general. If you are planning on working while you're on the road, I don't know how you do it without Starlink at this point. How did you find safe places to sleep overnight? We found 90% of our spots from iOverlander. It's a community-driven app. It's absolutely fantastic. You have to know what filters to put on. So for like free overnight parking, stealth camping, BLM land, and just use your discretion. If it's on the map, doesn't mean it's still a thing necessarily. We would open an area, find a place where there was concentrated, like quite a few spots, read the reviews on all the different spots, make sure there wasn't like any reports of getting knocks or just sketchiness, and see how long ago the last review was. And that's how we made our decision. But there are a lot of great apps that have come out. There's Seeker. We didn't really use that one that much. That's a paid one. Compendium. The next best bet is going to be your Lubs, your gas stations where truckers sleep overnight. It's not the most glamorous, but it'll do. And a lot of times they do have showers and laundry, which is nice. And cheap gas. And you get coffee in the morning. So kind of like a win-win-win. We didn't mind doing that.
Yeah, just a holdover as you're on your way to your next.
Was there ever a time you felt unsafe in the van? I think a big question we got on the van tour was, there's just the one little pass through to crawl through to get to the front. And I did want to have that just in case, so that you don't have to get out of your vehicle. I'm really glad that I did build that in just in case. We did use it once in Mexico when we got pulled over and I had to go back into the back of the vehicle. Remember that? Because all of our pesos were in the back of the van. Yeah. So I am glad we did that because I wouldn't have wanted to get out at that busy intersection. And I did use it a couple of times actually, now that I'm thinking about it, while you were driving to go back and grab snacks. But in terms of like safety, having it completely open to the back, I think the crawl space was enough for us, or maybe even doing a pocket door would be a good option too, because having that wall there blocked off a lot of the heat and the cold coming from the cab, and it just made it feel more homey. I don't know, I really enjoyed having it separate from the front, but
yeah, I don't think, I mean, just safety in general didn't really, I mean, we parked wherever, whenever. The nice thing is if you ever do feel unsafe, you just drive down the road. You can change and put distance. I mean, we had a couple times where like we noticed cars, I mean, who knows? It could be speculation. We thought we saw people following us on the highway and we just kept driving.
Yeah, we did have that one guy we thought was following us, but
like, no, I mean, we're talking like maybe less than 5. Like, can't even fit on a handful of times over 6 years where I'm like, that was odd, or that was weird. Right. And again, you never know, so like, trust your gut. It could have been just like someone that was lost too and looking around and had no idea. You don't know. But yeah, like did not happen very often.
I also think it comes back to researching your campsites. Like if you go on iOverlander and see like, hey, there was a lot of trash left here and it had kind of sketchy vibes or not a great part of town, just avoid it. Just use good discretion when you're looking over campsites. Does it get lonely in the van?
I don't know, man.
Did you get lonely?
I had 2 weeks where Em went on vacation and it was just Marley and I, and boy was it nice. I was starfishing in the bed.
No, I don't think, I don't know, by myself, I can see how it would get lonely. I think the number one thing people think is like, oh, I'll get a dog. And yeah, sure, that's great. I think everyone should bring their pet with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, it does get lonely. I mean, it gets lonely even with you and I being out there. Definitely easier to have someone with you, but that's part of it, is like, it's the trade-off. It's the same thing we're going through here in Hawaii. Like, Hawaii's great, right? My family is a 9.5-hour flight away in Chicago. They are far.
Yeah, I think that is probably the hardest part, is being so far and like missing big events with family or friends back home. But there is a massive community that travels, and there's these apps where you can like meet up with a caravan, and there's Facebook groups you can get into.
Yeah.
So you have the option. I think with the van, the beauty of it is you can choose to travel and caravan with people. Like we caravan with Molly and Ken for a very good chunk of our travels. And then when you want to go off and do your own thing, you just leave and come back, and everybody kind of, it's like an unspoken thing. Like, yeah, they're just going down the street for a little bit, you know? See you at the next park. Or what was the hardest part about the lifestyle for you?
The mental game. Little things can add up to become big things. Not that that's not hard in real life, but I think it's amplified when you live in a van. Cold weather, wet and rainy, can't go outside, you're feeling cramped, you have a bad day at work, and then your check engine light comes on. It's like it
was a real scenario.
Very real.
For us.
And then it's like, damn, dude, I didn't get any outside time. I'm stuck in here. It's crappy weather outside. Work sucked today, and now I'm going to have $1,000 repair on this van.
Yeah, now I got to find somewhere to sleep because the van's going to be in the shop. It's that's probably
There's
the
no
breakdowns.
sun for the last 3 days, so our electric's running low, but I need to have good internet, so we got to move, and I don't know if I can get the Starlink on today because we don't have enough solar power, so now we got to find a coffee shop, and then when work's done, we're out of food, and we need to go get gas, and we're out of water. I don't know. There's a lot of little things required to make everyday life happen that you take for granted. Water, electricity, food, parking spots, where you're going to sleep. And when those all collide,
it's a lot.
And hit you on the same day, it's like, oh man, this sucks.
Yeah.
But then when all of that's going great and you're like standing on Angel's Landing, you're like, oh yeah, okay.
I will say,
Hey, van life's great.
just meeting your basic needs every day eats up a good chunk of your time.
Yeah.
And it can be exhausting, but I think it was totally worth it to get to go see and do the things we did in the time period we did. So you just have to weigh those trade-offs for you. You're giving up a lot of conveniences to get to go do all these adventures all the time. For me personally, I think the hardest part, the toll it takes on you physically and mentally, kind of like what you were saying, is when you are working in a small space, when you're sleeping in a small space, when you're going for hour-long road trips, you're just like kind of, your body is kind of crammed into a small space a lot.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it, but over 2 years, I've noticed my posture's worse. We didn't have a great routine because, I mean, how can you when everything's changing so often? So working out just like fell completely off. And you'd think we would have stayed in decent shape because we were hiking a lot, but we ate our way across America, lots of food trucks. So we both gained weight. It just took a toll physically on my body. I feel like I just sounded so negative about that.
No, I mean, it's very real. Like, people got to know that it isn't, Instagram and YouTube are the highlight reels. Right. You're only most of the time going to see the good stuff, and there is definitely bad stuff and negatives and bad days that go with it. So I think you got to be prepared that it's not always going to be great.
Yeah.
But I do say that all with a grain of salt, because obviously the pros outweighed the cons, because I did it for so long.
With van life, you have very high highs and very low lows.
Yeah, that's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, when it's good, it is like total freedom. You could never imagine living life a different way.
Yeah.
It's incredible. But also, the reality is you're dealing with breakdowns. You're stressed, especially if you work while you're traveling. Like, yeah, I don't think there's really a middle ground. It's either a high high or a low low, honestly. One or the other. It's extremes, which also takes a toll on you mentally. I love this question. This one's a good one. How was living and working in such a small space and being together 24/7?
Easier than I would have thought.
Aw, yeah, I agree. That's sweet.
All right, next question.
No. But I feel like this needs to be said. If we talk about this in the video we put out this weekend, but Nick and I don't exactly have a normal dating story. When Nick came to travel in the van, it was supposed to be a 2-week trip, and we had really only known each other, spent about 10 days with each other, so it's kind of insane that we jumped into 70 square feet and just lived together.
Ultimate dating show.
Yeah, it would be the ultimate dating show. And I think that's how I knew that things were just going to work with us, because it just felt easy. I think a big part of it was you did the lifestyle before, so you kind of knew the deal. You knew about the electrical system, traveling. Like, you were cool with being a van dirtbag for a while, you know?
I mean, the nice thing too is that even though it's a small space, we chased the good weather most of the time, so we were outside a lot.
Yeah.
It's not like we did spend 24/7 inside of the box.
Yeah.
In their case, we might have gone a little crazy.
Maybe. I don't know, I just genuinely enjoy your presence, you know?
Oh, look at you being a little...
I mean it. Oh, I love this one. What was your favorite place you visited?
Probably Baja. Mexico was unbelievable. I don't know, it's hard to pick just one. Baja was a highlight. The Pacific coast, all of it.
Yeah.
Southern all the way up. The Oregon coast is insane.
Washington, all the forests, and those are three of the greatest national parks. Basically just like the western half of the United States. Utah may be the single greatest state.
Okay, I feel like you just listed everywhere we went in the van.
I'll just say that. The Pacific Coast, all of it. Utah.
All of it.
As a whole. And Mexico.
I would have to say my favorite place we did was hands down Baja.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it was because it was my first 2 months on the road, and it's just, you're in a foreign country and it's all new, and it was beautiful. That was my favorite chapter of van life.
That was like that was all new to me.
Yeah.
4 years I lived in a bus, never took that thing over the border.
Nick lived in a school bus for 4 years prior to coming to travel in the van with me. You have a very unique perspective of the largest vehicle that you can get, a 40-foot school bus, and one of the smallest vehicles that you can travel in. So what are your thoughts? Pros and cons of each?
I mean, I loved my bus. I loved it a lot bigger. I mean, 2, maybe 3 times the size. So there's so much space. And I had 3 dogs at the time, so it was great for the dogs. Did not feel the pressure to make absolutely everything multi-purpose. Didn't feel the need to cram everything in like when you're building out a floor plan for a van. It's just more to drive, more to park. You're more limited on where you can. Like, I never in 4 years would have dreamed of like taking the bus into downtown LA or downtown San Diego. I don't even know where you'd park it. And then there were, even off grid, there were a lot of spots like where the height or the width or like the turn radius, you weren't getting a bus down some of those dirt roads.
I didn't live in a big school bus before, but for me, the reason you get into the lifestyle is to go to these cool places.
Yeah.
And if the home that you choose is limiting you on where you can go, then I don't know. I think I would prioritize like accessibility to the places I want to go over everything, including comfort, because you're already giving up comfort of being in an apartment to go on the road.
Once you get into tiny living in general, or just on wheels, you're like, all right, I can go smaller, I can go smaller, I can go smaller.
Yeah.
And as tight as the van could have felt at times, the mobility, the stealthiness of just parking wherever, night and day difference in where you can go, what you can see, where you can park, what you can get away with. If I had to do it all over again, I would do the van over the bus any day.
Would you do van life again?
No.
No?
I'll do a boat. I'll do international travel. But I say that not because I don't like living in a van, but I've done it. I don't think you're going to do it forever. I had a great experience with it. I saw what I needed to see. It got me. It was a great utility. It was a great tool to allow me to do things I wanted to do. But I'm looking forward to see what's next.
Hot take. I would 1000% do it again. But one caveat there, in a different vehicle, I think it would have to be like a souped up 4-wheel drive military vehicle. We're taking that thing down the Pan American Highway. We've kind of done the States. I agree with you. So that kind of like segues perfectly into the next category of questions. So kind of transitioning out of van life and into living in Hawaii and what's next for the channel. I guess the first question is, why did we ultimately decide to sell the van? I don't think we left the van because we didn't like living in the van. It was 2 years. We saw what we wanted to see. Some of the best 2 years of my life. And we both have really big dreams, and the van was just one of them. And we have a lot of other dreams, like living international, getting on a sailboat. Yeah, just ready for new adventures. I think it's time. So what is next for the YouTube channel?
So I think there's going to be like a lot of international travel. There's going to be some storytelling and maybe light vlogging, maybe little cinematic 4 or 5 minute shorts just showcasing, you know, what we're doing, what our life is, different places around here or international that we go to.
We still are really excited to do some big travel things and keep checking things off of our apocalypse, which if you're sitting here like, what the heck is an apocalypse? Our last video, we kind of go over a little bit of it. I think at the end of the day, we're both just camera nerds. We both just love documenting life, and I love the idea that we'll be able to look back on this chapter of our life and have like these little mini episodes of where we were at that age, at that point on this adventure. And especially when it comes to the apocalypse, like not only are we checking them off and we know like we got to have that experience, we, you know, can relive it through our own video episodes. So yeah, that's kind of the direction we're hoping to take the channel. Do some cinematic vlogs, some travel, and checking things off the apocalypse. I do still have some van life stuff that, you know, we have terabytes and terabytes of footage that we just never really did anything with. I don't know, I might still put some more van life stuff out in the world. Like my brain is turning into mush.
All right. It's been about 2 hours.
Yeah, this was a lot of good information. I hope it is helpful if anyone's hoping to get into van life or curious or just like wants to know what the lifestyle entails. And we hope that you guys stick around. Anyone who gave us a sub and liked watching the van adventures, we're going to be doing the same stuff just without the van here on the island and international travel. So we hope you guys stick around. It means a lot. We've grown quite a bit, and every single comment just means the world. We really appreciate you guys tuning in to these little episodes of our life. Thanks for being here. Oh, I got flies all over me. See you next week. I think it's about time we head to the beach or something.
Where do you poop?
Oh my God, that is he? Did we just watch a lizard gangbang? What was that? Anyway. I keep brain farting.